Title: The Gangster's Curse. Chapter 1. The Hollow's New Prey. The village of Black Hollow had claimed its latest victim, Elias. But the curse was far from satisfied. The remaining gangsters lived in constant paranoia, fearing the next full moon. Some tried to flee, but Black Hollow never let them go. Roads twisted endlessly, leading them back. Those who attempted to leave on foot simply disappeared, their screams lost in the mist. A month later, a new traveler entered the village. His name was Vincent, a drifter, running from a past filled with blood and betrayal. He had heard the rumors about Black Hollow, but dismissed them as superstitions. He soon realized he had made a grave mistake. The moment Vincent stepped into town, the air grew heavier. The villagers watched him with hollow eyes, their silence more unsettling than any threat. A woman, her face lined with fear, whispered as he passed, "You should not have come." That night, Vincent checked into the abandoned inn. The building smelled of dust and decay, yet the sheets were oddly fresh, as if someone, or something, had been expecting him. As he lay in bed, a voice, low, hoarse, and inhuman, whispered his name. It wasn't coming from the hallway or the room next door. It was inside the room with him. The air became ice cold. The candle by his bedside flickered violently, its flame stretching unnaturally toward the ceiling. Vincent felt the weight of unseen eyes pressing down on him, his breath hitching in his throat. A shadow crawled along the walls, twisting and elongating, forming shapes he couldn't comprehend. He closed his eyes, praying for sleep, but the whisper returned. Closer this time, right against his ear. Chapter 2. The Ghosts of Black Hollow. The next morning, Vincent found the streets emptier than before. He noticed strange markings on the doors, symbols drawn in dried blood. He asked an old man about them, but the man only muttered, "Protection, though it won't help." Determined to uncover the truth, Vincent began investigating Elias's disappearance. He visited Mama Lucia, the only person willing to speak of the curse. She told him of the night Elias was taken, of the ghostly figures that came for him. Vincent, still skeptical, scoffed at the idea, until he heard it. A whisper, then another, and another. The voices surrounded him, laughing, calling his name. That night, the whispers turned to screams. Doors slammed open, shadows stretched unnaturally along the walls. The air turned frigid, his breath visible even indoors. Then, through the fog, he saw them. The lost souls of Black Hollow. Their hollow eyes glowed red, their hands reaching for him. He ran, but the streets twisted around him, leading him back to the village square. And there, standing in the center, was Elias. His face was twisted in agony, his hands bound by chains made of shadows. Vincent's pulse thundered in his ears as Elias raised a single trembling hand, pointing toward the old chapel at the edge of town. "You have to break the cycle," Elias gasped, "before it claims you too." Chapter 3. Elias's Warning. Vincent froze. Elias looked the same as the night he vanished, except his skin was pale, his veins dark, his lips curled in an unnatural grin. "You need to leave," his voice distant, layered with something, not human. Vincent took a step back. I can't. The roads. Elias nodded grimly. It won't let you go? Not yet? But you still have a chance. Before Vincent could ask what he meant, the mist thickened. The ghosts screamed in unison, and Elias's face twisted with pain. He looked at Vincent, eyes filled with something between sorrow and horror. Rod. Vincent obeyed. He sprinted through the fog, past the cursed alleyways and blood-stained doors. He ran until he collapsed in exhaustion, only to find himself back where he started. The mist moved around him, almost alive, twisting into the forms of grotesque figures with hollow eyes and gaping mouths. They whispered his sins back to him. Every crime, every betrayal, every drop of blood on his hands. And then one of them reached out. Chapter 4. The Full Moon's Hunger. As the full moon rose, the village awoke. The whispers turned to laughter, low, guttural, and endless. The ghosts moved freely, no longer bound to the shadows. They surrounded the remaining gangsters, dragging them into the darkness. Their screams echoed through the village, only to be swallowed by the mist. Vincent hid in the old church, hoping the spirits wouldn't enter sacred ground. But when he turned, he saw the walls were covered in old blood. The church was never safe. The air grew colder, and he could hear heavy footsteps approaching. Slow, deliberate, as if savoring the moment. The door creaked open. Don Vittorio Lupo stood in the entrance, his decayed face barely human. His hollow eyes locked onto Vincent. His voice was a whisper and a roar at the same time, echoing in Vincent's skull. You are ours now. The church windows shattered. Shadows poured in like liquid, crawling up Vincent's body. He struggled, but they were too strong. The faces of his past victims emerged from the darkness, whispering accusations, laughing at his fate. The weight of the curse settled into his bones, his screams lost in the abyss. Chapter 5. The cycle never ends. The next morning, the mist had lifted. The streets were empty once again. The few gangsters who survived refused to speak, their faces blank with terror. But something had changed. Vincent was gone. At the village square where Elias once stood, there were now 2 playing cards, an ace of spades and a joker, both stained with blood. They fluttered slightly in the breeze, though there was no wind. That evening, another traveler arrived, seeking refuge. The gangsters stared at him, their hollow eyes betraying nothing. No one warned him, and in the wind, the whispers laughed, already welcoming their next victim into the endless nightmare of Black Hollow.